Give it to me like. Give it to me like.
Hey, hey. Hey, Amber. Hey, who knows? So, if you are new to my channel, if you've never been here before, hi, my name is Laura. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you like what you see. And if you want to come back, and if you don't, well, have a good day. So, as you guys know, there was a massive school shooting today in Georgia, one state over. 4 people died, 2 students, 2 14-year-old students, and 2 teachers. I heard about it when it first happened, and I was absolutely blown away. Could not believe that this was happening again. A 14-year-old kid decided to throw away his entire life, along with other people's lives, and decided to shoot up a school, his school, the one that he just transferred into not long ago. Hey, Criminal Med. Now, one thing I want to stress before I play some videos that I found, this deals with some pretty heavy issues. So if you can handle heavy issues or you can handle school shootings, kids with school shootings, you probably want to skip this one. But what I find most fascinating, I don't know if people are trolling. I don't know what they're doing. People are having heart attacks about how these kids are smiling. Okay. These are kids. I stress the word kids. They're young. They know that they're going to be on national television. They're being interviewed by adults. Of course, they're going to smile. It doesn't mean that they're laughing about it. This is going to be the most traumatic thing these kids have ever had to deal with in their entire life. There is nothing that's going to be worse than the trauma of what they saw today. So I really want everyone to think and realize they're not laughing at the situation. Hey, Debbie, they're not laughing at the situation. They don't think it's funny. But I understand a lot of them are, have a smile on their face, but that could be shock. That could be the fact that they just witnessed something that they never in 1,000 years thought they would witness. I mean, there's many, many reasons why they could be smiling. I can promise you it's not because they're laughing at the situation. I know Sage. Sage would be that kid that laughs. When she gets nervous, she laughs. or she gets a smile on her face every time she's nervous. She does it on stage, she does it all the time. So I know my kid. She would either be overly hysterical or it would just be smiling because that's what she does when she gets nervous. So I really want to put a stressor on that. I had not seen 36 months. Woohoo! I had not seen the press conference from tonight. So we're going to watch that first because, again, I don't know if you guys saw it. I have not seen it yet. I've seen bits and pieces of other things. I just haven't seen the final press conference. I watched the other two. There have been 70 school shootings in Georgia between 1975 and today. This was the worst in Georgia history. And, when I listened to some of the interviews, the the doors lock of the classrooms. So these teachers or the school did what they're supposed to do. There's a cop on site. They don't have metal detectors, but I don't think ours does either. And that's cool that the classroom doors lock so nobody with an AK-47 can just walk in the classroom. I think that's a very smart implementation that the school did, and not all schools have that. So I think that's pretty good. So they did what they were supposed to do you know, to stop a school shooting. Listening to the girl who was in the classroom was heartbreaking. I couldn't believe that it was the teacher that went to let him in and saw the gun and was like, "Oh, hell no." That whole classroom would have been dead. So, thankfully, the teacher did see the gun before she opened that door. I couldn't even imagine. So, let's watch the the last press conference. I don't know what's up on my mouse. Alright. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that, Joy. That's after I hear the press conference, I'm gonna get to that.
Who is our suspect in this case. They conducted an investigation at that time, and there was no probable cause for arrest or to take any additional law enforcement action. This is not recent. This is
Okay, well, let's get into it now since they happen to mention it. First 5 seconds of the press conference. Yes, the FBI interviewed him a year ago and the father. So it's not even like they just thought maybe him. They had his father in and asked his father, "Do you keep guns in the house?" Well, Georgia's an open carry state. You can have guns just like here. Lots of people carry guns. But it seems that there was some boards in a chat room or Reddit or somewhere. I don't really remember where. But he had stated that he was going to blow up schools, that he was going to but he was questioned. Well, the FBI doesn't question you saying just because somebody wrote something. They only question you when there's reason to believe that it is you. Now, they asked the father, "Do you keep guns in the house?" The father said, "Yes, I have many hunting style guns." Well, an AK-47 style gun could be a hunting gun. But as I told my daughter, that's not a gun that you just like stick in your pocket. You can't just hide an AK-47. You need a big enough bag for that to happen. He wasn't driving, so he couldn't have kept it in a car. So I'd like to know how he got this gun out of his house and nobody noticed. You would need a huge backpack unless you took it apart, which I don't even know if that's possible, but I'm sure it is. Parents, check your kids' backpacks. So the father said he doesn't have access to them. Well, guess what, genius? I guess he does. I don't know. If one of my kids today turned around and blew up a school, I would be in shock. But if my kid was showing signs of no real friends, very quiet, didn't you know, didn't have a lot of friends at 14, kept to himself, didn't go to school a lot. You kind of might want to not keep guns in the house. If the FBI questioned me and my kid and I kept a gun in the house, I can assure you, after watching what the other people went through, the ones that are in jail, I can't think of the name all of a sudden, the parents that got arrested, you bet your ass I'm getting rid of the guns, or they're going to be so locked up and moved that you're not even going to know where they are. Not every gun owner thinks that their kid is going to do something like that, but I'm sorry. You got to watch your kids more. I mean, you got to have red alerts.
In the past, but we wanted to bring that to your attention because we are pursuing that, working with the FBI on that, and any connection to that incident that could be connected to today's incident as well. Also, we're also aware of some previous contacts that the Department of Family and Children Services in the area had with the suspect and his family, and we are pursuing that avenue as well too, to see if that has any connection with today's incident. Let me stress again, as we have many times, that this is still a very fluid investigation. It is still very active. We will have agents and there will be law enforcement personnel that will be pursuing investigative leads and collecting evidence throughout the night and into much of tomorrow, I would anticipate as well. We again ask for your patience in that. This is a criminal investigation. And we're going to treat it like that. So I apologize ahead of time if we don't answer some of the questions that you may ask. So please understand. I also want to bring note to one very special thing that we do not need to forget about here is we have heroes in our midst. We've talked about our law enforcement personnel, our fire, our EMS. Those that are deceased are heroes in my book. Those that are in the hospital recovering right now are heroes in my book, but also the heroes that we need to remember is our faculty and staff here at this school. They acted admirably. They were heroes in the actions that they took. The protocols that this school and this system activated today prevented this from being a much larger tragedy than what we had here today. So I want to recognize them as heroes because they are. And continue with our thoughts and prayers, as has been mentioned, for the families that were lost here today, those that were lost here today, those that are recovering in the hospital, and obviously those that were affected directly by this tragedy here at the school and all of the community of Barrow County. We need to continue to have them in our thoughts and prayers.
Director, thank you for doing another one of these again. Can you tell us, by chance, since he's being charged as an adult, will he be in court tomorrow? Will there be a first court appearance? Will he be booked tonight? Does that happen?
He will be booked tonight. I'm not sure of the court appearance, but it will be within a reasonable amount of time.
Is there anything that you can share to us about the weapon that was used, by chance?
The weapon that was used in this was an AR platform style weapon.
So how did Mr. Gray get the gun into this?
We're still investigating that aspect of it.
Did he go out of the classroom, get the gun, and come back? We've heard some of that from some students.
We're still trying to clarify a lot of the timeline from the time that he got here to school today until the incident took place.
Last one from me. I mean, so often, I know people at home, we always hear something that the FBI has heard something about someone who goes and does one of these tragic events. How can we stop this from happening? Because it feels like this happens every single time there's a school shooting that we've heard that there's a prior threat or there's prior knowledge. When lives are at stake, how can we stop this from happening?
Well, there's a variety of ways, in my personal opinion.
Let me tell you how you stop it from happening. Taking away guns is not the answer. It's looking at your children, know your children, understand your children. Stop looking the other way and actually sit down and talk to your kids. That's how you're going to stop it. I'll give you an example, and I've told this before. When we were little, when Dayton was little, he started playing violent video games at a very young age. Okay, I'm a horrible mom for letting him play, but he was really good. And one day he made a comment about, well, if he kills someone, then they come back to life. They get like a bunch of lives. And I had to sit down and explain to him, no, honey, that's not real life. Real life, you get one life. And when you shoot someone, they're dead. He didn't understand that. He was like 5, but he didn't understand that. And then he understood it and everything changed. And, I would say to him, we would sit down and we would talk, and I would explain to him every day, if you're going to play these games, you have to understand what's a game and what's real life. And I made him understand it. And I mean, you see what he is today. And he still plays his, first person shooter games. He loves them and he's really good at them. So besides mental illness, I don't think it's all mental illness. I think a lot of it is parents need to spend more time just talking to their children. Talk to your kids, find out what they're doing, where their head's at. And I think mental illness is used as an excuse, and parents, under due pressure of the times, seem to forget dinner, sitting around at the table at dinner, and home cooked meals and all the things that we grew up on. I don't think mental illness is any worse now than it was when I was growing up. I think mental illness was still mental illness, and a lot of kids had it, and a lot of kids were undiagnosed. But the difference was we had dinner at 6 o'clock. Whether we were bad or not, we had to sit down at the table. And in my case, whether I was high or not, didn't matter. I still had to sit down at dinner. You didn't go out on school nights past 10 or 9 or whatever it is. And I still do that with my kids. Sage used to laugh at me that in her senior year in high school, I made her come home by 12, and that's not on a school night. I'm talking weekends. School night, they're in by 9. And it's that way until they graduate high school. And every night at dinner, I may not eat with them, but I'm in the kitchen with them, because they sit at the bar, and we talk about what's going on in their life. That's what you have to do. I think that's the problem, is that parents stop doing that with their kids. And that's a personal opinion.
Community involvement, what our school system is doing here to ensure that. Whether we'll be able to stop it completely one day or not, I don't know. Those are decisions that each individual is making on their own to do this. But again, I go back to what I said earlier about the heroes here that prevented things from being a lot worse today. But we've got to take action within our own communities, take care of each other, be aware of our surroundings and what's going on in our community.
Dr. Hosey, interviewed the family last year, and they found hunting rifles in the family home. Was the AR platform weapon among those weapons that were in the home during that interview?
Again, that's part of a lot of the things that we're trying to clarify within the investigation. Again, we're very early.
As a parent situation, was it from a 911 call from a faculty or staff member or from a student? Can you just expand on that since they got here within minutes?
Could you also expand on why it was a female faculty member walking around looking for this student minutes before he shot up the school?
No.
Can y'all clarify that?
I'll let Director Hosey answer that question.
Source officer didn't approach him.
Look, ma'am, let's get this question right here, and then we'll come.
You asked how was they notified?
We discussed today, heard earlier, law enforcement here within several minutes. So we're just curious how the notification went through. Did 911 hear about it from a student, or was it a faculty that made that call alerting law enforcement?
All of our teachers are armed with a form of an ID called Centegix. And Centegix alarms us and alerts the law enforcement office after buttons are pressed on an ID and it alerts us that there is an active situation at the school for whatever reason, and that was pressed. And we've had that about a week now.
And we've heard stories of students actually pulling other students while they're in the hallway, while all this chaos is happening, while shooting is going on. We've heard stories about students pulling their classmates into the classrooms to get them to secure, to get them to safety. What do you think that says about these young folks who are, very 13, 14, 15 years old, that they're looking out for one another like that?
It's admirable. It's like Director Hosey said, we have heroes among us, and those students and teachers that did that today saved a lot of lives. This could have been way worse than and again, the investigation is still trying to file through that information, but those kids are heroes and brave as well to do that when they hear an active shooter around them.
Sheriff, you talked about
let me get this one question right here. Did you have something else, man?
No, it was me.
Okay.
I was asking, why did the school resource officer not go looking for this kid and approach him, and why they sent a female faculty member to the algebra room he was in with my daughter, looking for him instead of the school resource officer, or why the school allowed this boy to come and go from the class all the time. He would go and sign up for the restroom pass, leave the class, and come back sometimes, and sometimes never come back. He has been wandering this school.
With all due respect, ma'am, I think your information is incorrect, and our investigation is going to lead to what we have, and we will be glad to answer your questions once that's done.
That was such a Southern way to say "fuck you."
I guess victims are lying to me then.
Possibly.
Sheriff, what can you tell us about the SROs? You talked about a lot of heroes. You talked about how one of the SROs encountered the shooter. What can you tell us about them, who they are, how long they've been working here, and what they did today?
Both of the SROs that are here at these high schools, all of my high schools, I have two there. Both of the SROs, to include a third one, was here today, not for any other reason other than to help and assist today. They're the true heroes as well. They were actively looking. They had an alert, I guess, if you will. And when they interjected, or when this shooting began, they interacted with the shooter, Mr. Gray. And as soon as they made contact with him, he gave up immediately.
Can you share these officers' names?
Not at this time. I'd rather not.
Well, where is the shooter right now? You said in custody.
The shooter is in custody at the Bear County Detention Center because he is a juvenile. He's being booked in, and he will be transported to RYDC.
Were officials or school administrators tipped off by a threat here before the shooting happened?
I'm not aware of that at this time.
Sheriff or Director, can you say the condition on those injured that were taken to the hospital? Have you got any updates on how they're doing?
All of our victims that are at the hospital are going to make it and going to recover well, as we've been told, and we don't expect any more fatalities at this time.
Last question.
Has there been any shooting or tragedy to this scale inside a Georgia school that you're aware of? Can you speak to that?
I can't speak to that, no.
Can you put this in perspective for us then? What today has meant for law enforcement, for students, all of those affected?
Tragic. When someone preys on kids, it's tragic. Like I said earlier, hate is not going to prevail in our county, and hate's not going to prevail in our state.
Okay, he didn't prey on kids. He was a kid. I think this guy is forgetting he's 14 years old, which is going to be the second half of this conversation.
And pure evil did what happened today. That's all I can tell you. I want to continue to say that. I'm proud of the men and women behind me. I'm proud of the women that stood beside me. I'm proud of the men and women who protected these kids. I'm proud of this staff. I'm proud of this community. And I just ask for prayers. Thank you.
Is there any more your office can do to prevent shootings like this in schools?
Well, look, we've done a tremendous amount on school safety, but today is not the day for politics or policy. Today is the day for an investigation to mourn these precious Georgians.
Well said. Very well said. So for those of you that just came in, the doors were locked. They do automatically lock. The classrooms lock. But I'm gonna get to that after this.
That we have lost to thank the first responders that went, into the line of fire, the school staff, superintendent, the principal, and others that are just trying to hold this community together. That's what we need to be focused on right now. We also had a tragic loss of a firefighter in Greene County earlier today before this event happened, with an explosion that killed the life of a first responder that, again, was running in to danger when many people were trying to run out. And that's what the focus needs to be on tonight. I would ask everybody to continue to keep this community, these victims, and these educators and these men and women in law enforcement in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
I just want to thank everyone for their patience and taking the time to cover this. We ask that you continue to follow the GBI for updates. As we said earlier, we're going to continue to provide updates. It's very important that we get this information out. But right now, we really want to focus on our victims, and you can, as I said earlier, continue to follow us as we provide additional updates. Thank you.
The spellings of those victims' names.
Yes, I will.
Hey,
Thank
would
you.
you post cities of residence for the adults? If possible.
Okay, I'm going to get that. I'm going to be providing the.
You might have to take a picture.
Okay. Now I want you guys to ponder on something. Should a 14-year-old be tried as an adult? Okay. This news reporter kind of made me mad.
Introduce you to Lila, who's 16 years old. She was actually in algebra class just this morning, elbow to elbow with that shooter, Colt Gray, as he's been named by the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. Lila, let me first start with, how are you? How are you coping?
I'm okay. I'm pushing through it, talking.
Okay, now she's one of the ones that's smiling. Let me say this. The way the news reporter came at her, I'd probably be laughing too. She's like, how are you? This is a 16-year-old girl who just went through something so fucking traumatic that she'll probably never get over it. Like, this will stay with her forever. So for her to smile when this girl was like, when the news reporter, how are you? I probably would have smiled too, honestly.
To friends, making sure everyone else is okay, checking on people around me.
Can you bring me back? What happened?
I just remember, like, the moment that it happened. He was at the door, and I knew they were looking for him already, but he was at the door, and they almost let him in until they backed up, and then he turned away, and that's when you hear like the first rounds of fire.
So he was in class with you in algebra class. He left. Then he came back, was at the door, and then knocking to be let back in. Why? You told me something about the doors.
Yeah, they lock automatically, so you have to be let in to come back into our classroom. So I think he wanted to come to us first.
Come to you first to shoot?
Yes, to shoot us class.
And then he was at the door. Student went to open the door, and then what happened?
She backed away. I think she saw him, or maybe somebody said something, but I'm pretty sure she saw that he had a gun, and so she backed away.
So she was about to let him into the class. You think to shoot the students, saw that he had a gun, did not let him in. What happened next?
He turns to the classroom to what would have been my right, and he just starts to shoot, and you hear like about 10 to 15 rounds back to back.
What did you hear? What did you think was going on in those moments?
As soon as they didn't let him in, you kind of like, I don't know, I already kind of had a feeling it was gonna happen and it was him. But as soon as they didn't let him in and you hear the gunshots, you kind of like know.
You knew that something
Yeah.
very bad was happening next door. Did he ever say anything?
No, he never really talked. He was pretty quiet. He wasn't there most times. Either he just didn't come to school or he just would skip class. But even when he would have talked, it was one-word answers or just short statements.
You told me off camera you weren't surprised that he would be the shooter. Why is that?
Just because when you think of like shooters and how they act or things that they do, it's usually the quiet kid or like that's what stereotype for it to be. And he was the one that fit that description in our class.
Did you ever see the gun, or did the student that go to the door see the gun, describe it to you guys?
No, I haven't talked with her after this. It was all pretty hectic, but I didn't see the gun.
Did he ever have a hobby of guns, hunting? Did he ever talk about any of that?
No, he never really talked.
Can you tell me?
Now you see why this girl pissed me off? The news reporter, like, she just said, like, are you not listening? She just said that the kid never spoke. So now she's at, oh, did he have a hobby of guns? Like, are you serious, lady? Are you not listening to the girl? She's 16. Like, try listening.
Tell me what it was like inside of the classroom when you hear those gunshots go off. How I heard that you helped to keep the other students calm, right?
Yeah, most of like when we heard it, most people just dropped to the floor and like kind of crawled in an area, like piled on top of each other, lost a shoe when they were, trying to get to a corner. The teacher turned off the lights, but we all just kind of piled together. And like I pushed desks in front of us. I was just telling people like, oh, push desks in front of you, block in front of you, get low, things like that.
And are there any metal detectors in the school?
No, not that I know of.
Did you guys drill for active shooters? We know that some school districts do that.
They were silent drills, so we stayed in our seats. The teachers kept teaching through them. I think it was more for like the system of it instead of like preparing us.
How quickly, from the moment that the gunshots go off to the hard lockdown alert going on the screens, letting everyone else in the school know that something had gone wrong, how long did that take? Do you recall?
Maybe a couple minutes, but it wasn't instant.
At what point did you know that this was over?
When the cops came in the room and asked us to put our hands up, asked us if we had anything. A little bit after that, they let us all out. But when it was kind of quiet, you hear like cops yelling, but it's kind of quiet. There's no more gunshots, things like that.
What was that communication like with your parents? I mean, all of us have phones nowadays. I spoke with many students texting what they thought might be their last words to their parents. What was that like for you?
I called my mom. I called her and I was like, oh, they're shooting up the school. She thought it was like, she didn't believe me at first. And I was like, no, they actually are. And I talked to her for a second and she was like, oh, I'm on my way right now. And then I was like, okay, I got to go call other people. I text all my friends in the school, out of school, everywhere. And I'm just texting and calling kind of everybody.
And what was that like leaving the school? I saw videos of officers escorting the students with their hands raised. What was that like for you?
It was protocol, obviously, but I was glad it was over. Like, I was glad we were able to leave. I was looking for my friends that were there. I was comforting the ones that had been through a little bit of a harder time.
And then, Lila, what would you say to this student that you were just elbow to elbow with just this morning in algebra class and now this?
I'm not sure. I want to know why he did it. I think that would be I want to know why.
Lila, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and the best to you and your family and your community.
How annoying was that news reporter? I did. I thought she was annoying. So, all right, a couple of things I want to discuss. First being, let me give the victims' names. We have, because that's something I didn't do earlier. So the victims were 14-year-old Mason Schiermerhorn, 14-year-old Christian Angela, and the teachers were Richard Aspinwall and Christina Irami. Those are the 4 victims, 2 14-year-olds and 2 teachers. Colt Gray, I have not seen a picture of. I'm going to guess that he's a white kid. And why do I say that is because most school shootings are done by white kids. So I'm going to guess and say he's probably a white kid. Yeah, they were 14 years old. The hardest part is these parents, all they did was send their kids to school like every single one of us do. The school has shut down for the week. Personally, I would never send my kid back to school. That's a personal thing. That's when you go on homeschool. And I understand you can't protect your kids forever. But looking at the FBI threats, and the kids thought there were multiple shooters. The cops say no, but the kids could swear there were multiple shooters. They heard shooting from different angles, from different areas. But let's go back to the FBI situation last year. And according to the updates, suspect was interviewed by local law enforcement in May of 2023 after the FBI received several, not one, not two, but several anonymous tips about online threats to commit a school shooting at an unidentified location and time. This came from the FBI's Atlanta office and Jackson County Sheriff's Office. The online threats included photographs of guns. The father of this particular Colt Gray said he had hunting guns in the house, but the subject didn't have unsupervised access to them. The subject denied making the threats online. The FBI said there was no probable cause for an arrest at that time. And that might be true. There may not have been probable cause for an arrest, but here's my question. Did the FBI compare the guns in the pictures to the father's guns? Did the FBI cross-check them? Did the FBI bother to go by the dad's house and see if any of the guns in the pictures were their father's? Probably not. I'm going to guess they never did. Why? I don't know. But I'm going to take a wild guess and say they probably never cross-checked. Because I think if they did, it would have been in the article. That's just my opinion. Hold on. I got to let the dog in. It doesn't say. And that's why I think that's where they dropped the ball. So today's shooting is the deadliest of 45 school shootings so far this calendar year. So since January, there have been 45 school shootings. Since 2008, there's been 11 school shootings with more than 4 people dead. Hey, True Texan. That's just crazy. Can you imagine getting a call from your kid, a text message that says, "Mom, school shooting, I'm scared"? Can you fucking imagine? I would die. I would absolutely die. Now, what I haven't heard from is the parents, the text messages of the victims, or the kids from the teachers, the victims. Now, earlier this afternoon, though, the cops said that all people in the hospital were shooting related. That's actually not true. 3 of them were because it's shooting related. The other 4 went for anxiety, which I can totally understand. And one of them is an adult with a gunshot wound to the stomach. He was in surgery, and another one is minor with unspecified injuries. So another teacher was shot, but I guess they think he'll be fine. Now, oh, one parent couldn't find their child. It was one of the deceased. I couldn't even imagine. Could not even imagine. Trying to see. Let's look. Oh. All right. Then what else do? They set up a table, crackers and Gatorade. See, that's what I want to know. How did they get into school? Just how did they get into school? How did he bring the gun in the school? Now, I don't know much about guns. Do the AR guns come apart? Could he have fit in the backpack? I don't know why he wasn't booked earlier. Yeah, but he had to have had it in his possession. Like, he had to have had it in his backpack when he left the house. Because remember, the girl said he left the classroom. So that kind of leads me to believe he put it in his locker. He put it in a backpack. He put it in something. But he definitely didn't walk through the halls at first with this gun. Now, they were saying about the cops, the SROs or whatever they're called. When I go to my kids' school, they're in a big school. And every time I walk in the door, there's always a cop right at the front. Well, that's not going to help if some kid on the other side of the school has a gun. A cop sitting in the front chatting with the girls is not going to do anything to protect the school. So, when they talk about the SROs or whatever they're called at the school, yeah, it's great that they have one. But in my opinion, the only ones I've seen are like flirting with the girls at the front. No joke. So again, if something instantly happened at the other side of the school, their fat asses are not going to make it fast enough. And I think a lot of schools are like that. They put a cop in, but once you get to realize how the cop is, yeah, I couldn't walk in and, get in the hallways. Everything's locked up. So it prevents that from happening. But it certainly doesn't prevent a kid from sneaking in with a gun and going out to the other side of the field. If a football player decided to blow up the school or shoot at the football students, a cop could not get there in time. There's not even a guard guarding the football gate, which is a separate part of the school. It's like behind the school almost. So there's nothing that they would be able to do. They wouldn't even be able to get there fast enough. So I think it's good for. Oh no, ours are cops. Ours aren't security guards. They're actual cops. And I think Georgia has actual cops too. So, being that the football sector is separate from the school, there's no protection at all. Resource officers. Yeah, because they were in the school, but I'm saying that, having them there, like our school, they think is pretty well protected. That, nobody can walk in and, you know, pull a school shooting. Hey, Spitfire, nobody can walk in and pull a school shooting, but it doesn't prevent a kid from doing it. Now, this is sad. I don't know if you guys heard about this yet. There was a teenager who overslept and she decided to stay home today. And one of her friends was killed. One of her best friends happened to have been killed. But she had overslept and she was getting ready for school, and her friends text her, "Don't come to school. It's school shooting." And they were already in a lockdown. I just couldn't even imagine. Yeah, no, ever since the I forgot which school shooting it was, but we had, "Hey, Grandma Rose, I still need to know what type of candle you want." Um, and the school shooting, I forgot which one it was, but yeah, the kids, they changed all the laws. They changed all the rules. Grandma Rose, I made some amazing fall candles. So if you tell me you want a fall candle, I'll send it out tomorrow. I don't think it was Sandy Hook. I think it was after Sandy Hook, actually. Because we were in Florida in Sandy Hook, and I know Florida had cops then. So the father stated he had hunting guns in the house, but the subject did not have unsupervised access. The subject denied making the threats online. Jackson County alerted local schools for continued monitoring of the subject. At that time, there was no probable cause for arrest or to take any additional law enforcement action on the local, state, or federal levels. So that leads me to believe that the cops absolutely did not check to see if the father owned the same guns that were in the picture. So personally, if I was a parent of one of the victims or a child of one of the victims, hey, don't bark at him. My first reaction would be, "Oh, hell no." And I would sue the police department because those cops should have checked the guns. I would love to see if those guns matched. And if they did, they got a big, big lawsuit on their hands. Hey, don't bark at him. Stop picking on him just because he's little. Oh, now I see why. Why are you doing that to her? Why are you doing that to her? So Winston, I didn't know why Karma was barking at Winston, because Winston was being a little brat. He took her bone and laid on top of it, so then she couldn't get it. I would have barked at him too. I would definitely be getting an attorney, and I would want to. Hey, stop! I would want to check those pictures without a doubt. All right, so that's the latest. I just want to know why. But before I get off, I want to get into a discussion. If anybody wants to come on panel, I'll stay on a little longer. If not, I'm going to shut it down after I discuss this. Should a 14-year-old be tried as an adult? I am torn over this subject. There's another case of a trial that's starting. The picture JLR was showing, where'd JLR get a picture? I've been looking everywhere. Was he a white kid, like I said? There is a girl who's going on trial, Sly Angel. If you remember the name, let me know. Because all of a sudden I can't remember her name. She's going on, her trial starts September 16th. Would have been my wedding anniversary. She killed her mother, shot her stepfather. Stop. Shot her stepfather. Hey, go lay down. No, go lay down. She shot her stepfather, but killed her mother. Hey, Tanya. She then called her mother. And I'm sorry, she called her friend and asked her friend to come look at a dead body. The girl is 14 years old. She claims that she was insane at the time. She didn't know what she was doing. Then we find out. Now, mind you, Carly Gregg, thank you. The girl is 14 years old. Then we find, and I will be covering this trial because I'm very interested in it, that at 14 years old, she got a 30 on her ACTs. It took Phoenix 7 tries as a senior, and he has a high IQ. It took him 7 tries to get a 32 on his SATs. This girl at 14 years old pulled a 30. She's a genius. Which tells me, in my humble opinion, she's a fucking psychopath. And she's playing her cards right. And she's going to claim insanity. So I'm starting to think that she is a fucking psychopath. So that's why it'll be an interesting case. But she's been in an adult prison since last year when she's 14. Before I found out about the ACT scores, I kind of thought maybe she was just a fucked up 14-year-old. Once I found out she's a genius, I kind of have the feeling that she's a psychopath. But she's been locked away in an adult prison, isolated, until her trial. But it makes me think, and then you have this case of another 14-year-old. You're going to lock them away for the rest of their life. I am also not the mother of a victim. If I was the mother of the victim, I think I would see things probably differently. But at 14 years old, you can't make rational decisions. Do you know right from wrong? Abso-fucking-lutely you do. Is your brain fully developed? No. Are there circumstances that a 14-year-old can be smarter than others? Yeah. But should you throw away the key of a 14-year-old kid? If a 14-year-old kid steals a car, even an armed robbery, and he's 14 and nobody dies, you rehabilitate them, you speak to them, and you hope that you get them on the right path, that they don't do it again. The death penalty cannot go for children under the age of 18 because they ruled it's unconstitutional, which is all good and well. But if you can't sentence them to death, then what's the point of locking them up and throwing away the key? The kid that does the armed robbery knows right from wrong too, but he does it anyway. I am legit torn over this subject. I am legit torn if throwing away the key for life or even trying a kid as an adult, you might as well give him death. Because until he's 18, he's technically on death row because he's isolated from all other inmates. And then when he turns 18, he will be thrown in with hardened criminals. And that's the only thing he will ever know the rest of his life. Is that fair for a 14-year-old? And this is the question that I ask all the time in cases like this. There have been times that a 14-year-old commits murder, gets tried as a juvenile, comes out at 19 or 21, and lives a wonderful life. Because this trying as an adult is new. Kids used to murder when they're young because they knew they were only going to juvie and they'd be out by 21. But statistically speaking, a lot of them turned out just fine and didn't end up in the system. And granted, I'm talking more ones of, they shot their step parent because they were abused, or, their parent because they were abused. I can't think of the names, but certain cases I'm thinking of did have to do with abuse. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's just something that I keep going back and forth with. Should these kids be thrown away forever? No, I don't think they should. Should they be punished for their crimes? Absolutely. But if 14 years old can't make decisions of their life and they still need their parents for everything and they still need certain things in life, well, then you shouldn't just give up on them and throw away the damn key. That's kind of how I feel. But like I said, I toss back and forth because this is such a horrible crime. But is he a bad kid? Could rehab have changed it? Was he on drugs? Is there more psychological issues? Was his dad beat him? I don't know. I don't know these answers. But I want to know where JLR got a picture of him. Where is the responsibility of the parents? I agree with that. Let's see. Oh, JLo went on. How do you know his mom's name? Well, I told you he was a white kid. See, but again, I don't think it's mental health. Mental health isn't any bigger now than it was when we were young. So he was a chubby little kid. I'm surprised JLR didn't transport himself there. Yeah, he looks like a cute kid. All right, that's the interview. Same kid?
A chest full of awards, crafts, pictures with friends. And yes, I got pictures of that too.
All right. Mom and dad bailed Marcy out of jail. She went to rehab for a month or two. Her husband went and picked her up without my mom's permission. She went up there and stayed with him and their kids for a few weeks. Issues started to arise, and now she's back in Fitzgerald at my parents' house. She destroyed my personal belongings. She stole thousands. Who's Marcy, the mom? For those of you that have seen this already, is Marcy the mom? Yeah, I don't know who this person is, though.
The rehab came back and destroyed all her personal belongings, burnt things, and put paint, 2 gallons of paint all over her childhood memories. So there, it's had a history. And like I said, she's been in and out of jail in Fulton County. Man, scary times, man. You know, and kids have to be subjected to this kind of thing, you know? And
he's only 14. I mean, he's really young. And to go through.
Oh, is this the aunt that Ictamil? Hey, Chair, was this the aunt that Ictamil is saying she still supports him? Is that where that came from?
You know, these are the things that she's posting about, that she knows about, the aunt that she knows about, you know, but she's probably not even there like most of the time. So there's no telling what all went on in his household. So yeah, this is not good.
No,
and
not
last
good.
year, the thing with the FBI, just coming and going and being like, oh, well, you know, there's nothing we can do. That's crazy.
This is the right kid, folks. We have the right kid. This is the shooter. Here's another picture of him fishing that they're posting online at 10 years old. This was probably when he was 11. And you could tell he has like a little bridge on his nose, like a little point on his nose that identifies him, it looks like, you know. So more and more pictures are coming out, you know, as this progresses in the next 12 to 24 hours. I think we're going to get a lot more pictures with him. But it's interesting to know if any pictures are going to exist, like the dark side, you know, like.
Yeah, that's
you know.
sad. I mean, if you just look at that, that is so sad. He's so little. He has this like baby face.
And turns into a complete monster.
Yeah, it's really, really sad.
But it also puts in perspective, folks, you know, people's homes. And it seems like there's all types of weird stuff being circulated. You got to watch out when you see these stuff on Twitter, because there's so much misinformation. I'm looking at just posters of and pictures of just people that they assume is the shooter. And it's not the shooter whatsoever. It's wild stuff. Any additional information that they're sharing out there, Magnolia, on this Colt Gray guy?
I haven't seen anything new. I wanted to say one thing about the community aspect. I saw something earlier tonight that I thought was really, really nice. I don't know why this like affected me when I read it, but there's a tow truck company, I guess, who posted on Facebook today, and they said if any parents, teachers, or kids are not comfortable enough to pick up their vehicles from any school today, please contact us at All County Towing, and we can get your cars home to you without any further stress, free of charge, as we pray for the community. So I don't know. I just think that's so nice.
Yeah, that's
I love to see the community come together, and that's something that we always see in these situations.
Yeah, the community.
Hip shattering.
Our resources that we have available from our local law enforcement to state law enforcement, GBI.
Okay, explain something to me. It's 2024. JLR has over 200,000 subs. Can you tell me why you can't get a second fucking monitor? Like, really, JLR? It's not expensive. Get a second monitor.
Our hands are on deck, and ready to help this community however we can. But just a tragic situation.
Lieutenant Governor, have you and/or Governor Kemp spoken to school officials there on the ground in Winder, and/or have you spoken to any of the victims' family members or friends or loved ones?
I have not spoken to the family members as of yet. The sheriff's office. I've reached out to the sheriff there. He's a good friend of mine. He does a good job there in his community there. I will be reaching out to the family when they make those names public. They haven't made those names public as of yet. But just like I said, it's we're just trying to see through all of the situation that went.
Shooting at an unidentified location and time. The online threats contain photographs of guns, and within 24 hours, the FBI determined the online post originated in Georgia, and the FBI's Atlanta field office referred the information to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office for action.
I'm telling you guys, you could tell me I'm wrong, you could tell me I'm crazy, but the bottom line is guns haven't changed, mental health hasn't changed. Nothing has changed other than parents not being in tune with their children. That's what's changed. Parents just not knowing what their kids are up to, not looking for the signs, not having dinner, not speaking to their kids every day, letting their kids do what they want, and not having any control over them. That is what's wrong with today. That's the difference. Someone would have talked about shooting up a school in the 80s, they would have got their fucking asses kicked.
The Jackson County Sheriff's Office located a possible subject. A 13-year-old male interviewed him and his father. The father stated he had hunting guns in the house, but the subject did not have unsupervised access to them. The subject denied making the threats online. Jackson County alerted local schools for continued monitoring of the subject. At that time, there was no probable cause for arrest or to take any additional law enforcement action on the local, state, or federal levels here. Lieutenant Governor, obviously, none of that is confirmed that this is the same student that we are talking about or the same school district that we are talking about. But go into what law enforcement needs to know to prepare for situations like this. The response in general, what did you make of it today?
Well, number one, on that document you had from the feds there, that Jackson County is this is not the same county that this incident happened in. Winder, Georgia, is in a county called Barrow County. They're probably within 30 miles of each other, but it's not the same county. So, I don't know where that information came from, but it's
still so raw.
Well, this is something. This is one of those instances that you don't ever forget, and this is one of those tragic situations that, as a father, is almost. I just got sick to my stomach when I heard the news about this. I've got a 15 and a 12-year-old. I've got a 9th grader. That it's the same age as some of the victims today. So this is something that you don't ever forget about. But the one thing I do know, in a small community like Winder, they are going to band together, and they are going to, like I said, circle each other and comfort each other in this terrible, terrible time.
All right, sir. Thanks so much for your time. We'll talk again.
So I want to show you something interesting here, folks, because when we were talking earlier, we were showing about the Aunt Annie. She just made her Facebook profile completely private. So we were sharing at the beginning of the statement, we were sharing about the aunt saying that she's going to back him at all costs, more or less. And look at this. Now, when you go to her Facebook profile, it's completely locked down. She took all her photos private. It's nothing there. She made it private. So somebody got to the aunt and said, you better make your profile private. And apparently that's what she did. So I thought that was interesting. Maybe they were seeing they were on JLR Investigates and they're like, oh, we got to make it private, because people were telling her, make it private, make your private, don't stop saying these things. Stop saying these things. Let's get Magnolia back in the chat. That was Burt Jones, Lieutenant Governor. So you spoke to one of these politicians. I heard people in the chat saying, what are you going to do, politician? What are you going to do a solution to make sure this doesn't happen again? Serious red flags across the board. And we're going to talk about it with Magnolia. Magnolia, she made it. She made it private.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of said that earlier. Like, I was really surprised that she would post that stuff. Just that tone that she kind of took was a little bit much. So I'm not surprised that she privated her account. I think it's interesting, some of the comments that you showed that she...
All right, just to go on something else, I want to show you guys something. Hang on. So this happened to pop up. So in Las Vegas, four teenagers just took a plea deal on the fatal beating of a high school classmate. They range from 13 years old to 18 years old. Now, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. In Vegas, some can be tried as an adult. But what they do, hold on. All right. In Nevada, a teenager accused of murder can be charged as an adult if they're 13 or older at the time of the alleged crime. But they're entitled to a certification hearing when a family court judge weighs the evidence and the teen's history before deciding whether they'll be transferred to the adult court system. That's how it should be. Don't automatically, no matter how bad the crime was, don't automatically throw away the key, like what they're doing with this kid. This is kind of where I get torn, because the judge will look at it and say, can this kid be rehabilitated? Will throwing away the key and paying for this kid for the rest of his life, could this person change? At least a judge makes that decision, not the cop saying we're throwing away the key. So I just want to point that out. I respect the fact that Vegas does that, but it just happened to come up while we were watching JLR. So but I think that's how it should be all the time. All right. I am going to shut this down because I have to get back to my laser engraver, which Dayton helped me figure it out. And I still haven't figured out how to use it yet, but at least we got all the lights working, all the everything downloaded. I didn't realize how complicated it was or how big it was. So it's very complicated. But Dayton did it. He helped me out. And now we figure out how to use it. Step 1 is done. At least now we got it all working. All the lights are working. All the firmware's in. It's all set up. But now we got to figure out how to make it work. And on that note, I will see you guys tomorrow. There's stuff with Wade Wilson I want to get into, stuff I want to talk about. There are new calls, new situations, new crazies on his fucking women team. Wade supporters, who's raised over $80,000, by the way. But tonight, I wanted to talk about the victims of this horrific crime and all the victims in the school. I didn't feel it was right to talk about anything else. I think these victims deserve the attention. So I did my part. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on the way out. And I will see you guys tomorrow for a discussion on Wade. And again, so sorry for everyone that was involved. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. Peace. And don't forget, order candles, energycandles.com. Grandma Rose, I have the perfect candle to send you. Made some amazing fall scents that are going to be, I'm doing the pictures for the website tomorrow. So by tomorrow night, you'll see them. Got a lot of things planned, and let's get some candles. Got fall collection coming next week. All right. I will see you guys later. Peace.